Hey, what's going on, everybody? You're listening to the SANE Show, the show about nothing and everything. I'm your host, Cliff, and today I have another special guest. I have producer, light designer, and technical director for Boyd Design, Brendon Boyd. How you doing today, Brendon?
I'm doing super, thanks. How are things with you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm excited to have you on the show. Really excited to talk about the things that we're going to talk about. So, ready to hop into it. But before I introduce the topics, I want to quickly shout out all the listeners in all 60 plus countries. Thank you guys. I love you guys. Thank you guys for continuing to like, share, subscribe, and spread the word about the SANE Show. And if you're listening and you don't already follow us, be sure to check us out on Instagram and Twitter at SANE_show. Again, that's SANE, SANE_show on Instagram and Twitter. And then you can find us on Facebook, The SANE Show. Again, on Facebook, that's The SANE Show. So today we're going to be having a conversation about lighting in production. And then we're also going to have a conversation about working with major clients, something that you can definitely speak to, Brendon. And then following those two topics, we're going to have an interview with you, Brendon, so that the listeners and I can learn more about you, your background, and all the great things that go along with that. So let's go ahead and hop right into it with our first topic, lighting in production. As we spoke about, I love speaking with people who are on the production side of live entertainment business and highlighting the things that people like yourself do and like how critical it is to the production. I've had production managers on here, tour managers, directors, people that do all sorts of things, and audio engineers. So to have someone like yourself that does lighting, which is also another major piece of the production of live events, and you're going to add another layer to all of that. And so really excited for the listeners to be able to get some insight from you about lighting as it concerns live productions. If you could, just would like for you to speak to the listeners a little bit about, like, again, the lighting and live productions and the importance of it, and how, again, the criticalness to live productions.
Well, thanks for the intro. That's awesome. And again, thanks for having me. This is going to be fun. We'll just chatting it up about stuff that I do and that I like to do. And I'm very fortunate to be in, what I do, all the COVID aside, I do what I like to do. We're
Right.
doing events, we're doing concerts and shows and performances and lots of different items that we're doing. And light that's where I come from. That's my safe space. I got my degrees in lighting, both a bachelor's and a master's of fine arts in lighting design. So I have the training. Most of it's all theatrical, all that training though. So we're living in the theater and using light to sculpt, model, selective focus, and create mood and what we take for granted when we go and see a show at a theater. You dim the house lights, they go to half. That gets everyone settled. Then you dim it out. That's code for, and that's instilled in us in elementary school. For me, they used to flash the lights in the cafeteria to get us to be quiet, whatever, to make an announcement. That stuff we use in real life now. It's like, so we dim the house lights, gets everyone settled, unwrap your candy, you make the announcements. There's a please welcome the star of the show, blah, 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 blah. And there's an intro, and then maybe there's a big drum roll, and that's the audio team, audio designer and audio front of house engineers, and they get the sound effects rumbling. Maybe there's some fog. We got the special effects guys, and then maybe you got some flashing lights or strobes, or maybe none, because not using all your tools in the toolbox right off the gate is a smart move in many regards to help really create that drama, that anticipation, so it's fun, there's a lot of work that goes into it that we'll probably touch on today, but in the end here, we're putting on we want to have fun doing it. And I'm very fortunate to have that opportunity to do that on many occasions. And sometimes it's work and you just got to put your head down and muscle forward. But a lot of times it's not. And that's really great. I like to be in that place. But lighting, oh man, I could teach a class about it. So we don't have enough time to talk about that. But ultimately, we are in it every day, all day. and we're sleeping. So we're not in light or not in light. So it affects us in so many ways that we don't even know or recognize. And then sometimes you do. And I think it's when we help in theatrical presentations or shows, that's really what gets everyone to wake up a little bit to what's going on. We amplify the stuff on stage as an amplification of everyday life, right? It's what people strive to be, or I want to be a superstar, a big singer on the stage and do stadium tours. People that's a dream of people's to do, so that's really cool that we're able to support that. And it takes a small army to do it on some of the big shows too. And every little piece helps. We're the production team, the stage crew, behind the scenes. We're the first ones to get there, dumping the trucks and setting up the stages to the last ones to leave, breaking it all down and putting it back on the truck and sending it to the next city. Or maybe it's just a temporary job. Maybe it's a one-off and that's just a single day performance or show or presentation. We call it a one-off, and it's just a one-day wonder. So, but others have longer runs, like a Broadway show will be on for a couple months, or maybe there's a residency at a local museum that an artist goes in and they do a dance residency for a couple months. But everything can vary, or a seasonal concert festival in a park that runs for 10 weeks with 3 shows a week. So that kind of stuff, there's all versions of it between.
You bring up some really great points, because one of the things that I thought about too is how lighting seems so minute, and it made me laugh when you were talking about how in the cafeteria, right, you flash the lights and to try to get people to quiet down, what's going on, or if you shut the lights off altogether to indicate we need people to be quiet. Because I even think about like the movie theater, right? They dim the light, like, okay, the movie is about to start. We need everybody quiet. We need you focused on the screen ahead of you. But something else I thought about too is, when you think about some of the best of productions and you think about what makes those productions great, obviously, like, again, great light coordination is a big part of that, especially with music, because we're listening a lot of times, and mostly it's about the audio, right? But those who really understand what's going on and those who really appreciate what's going on, because I'm going to tell you now, when this whole thing is over and I go back to a concert, I'm really going to be paying attention to every single aspect and really judge the show, not just on the performance, but on every aspect of it, because it's art. And so to listen to you talk about lighting and like how all that stuff works and how it's critical to the production, honestly, I'm listening to you, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's like, wow, this is huge.
You won't be able to go to a show anymore without looking up or looking over we're instilling some techie in you, like looking around, but you'll still be able to enjoy the show. The key, I think, you'll know it's bad when you notice it. And that goes for all departments, right? You'll just be like, man, you go into some concert and it hurts like right off the bat, like the first guitar solo, like makes your ears bleed. You're like, wow, that's, even if you really do love the band, there's a pain. Like, you don't want to make anyone hurt, you know what I mean? So blow it, same deal with lights. You don't go full on strobe right on first song right off the bat. Everyone's eyes will be tired before you got to take care of your audience, and their art is good. Art's important. Art, we need it. And to some degree, there's a lot of technical elements within that art.
Right.
It's not just we think about the masters paintings or Michelangelo's carvings or sculpture, that's a big block of stone, and you got to chip away at it, and then you get to your end product, right? There's not too many tools now. There's, oh my goodness, there's, truss, moving lights, line arrays, networking, this, and consoles and comms, and just it's a lot of technical stuff that we just do now. After you do it a couple times, it's part of your routine. And it's like you go into your car and you key in the ignition, or the beep's got to be in the cup holder, or whatever that routine is to get you started. That's the same way we routine to get our show started, and you need it to do it. So then we can get used to what you need to do. And that's why we practice rehearsals and practice. You need to practice a little bit to make sure it goes, even if it's live or not, you still need to practice. So
Right. That's true.
Art and light, and there's a lot of departments that go into this project, and good certain elements, certain shows you go to, some of those departments are featured more than others. So if you were going to I don't know, a circus or something, the lights aren't really, they're more about function, because you can't blink all the animals. They might spaz out. You might have, or you're going to a motocross or something that you have some lights that are really lighting the track, so they can race, but maybe you have an overlayer of glitzy lights that, some moving lights that flash and strobe or blink, or some cryo or fire as they jump. There's a lot of stuff we can add to the drama, add to the hype, which is what we pay to go and see, is exciting, cool stuff that we don't see at home every day.
All right, we're back. Now we're going to talk about working with major clients. So really excited to have this conversation with you. Because again, in preparing for this recording, I was looking at your website, and you guys have a pretty solid client portfolio. It includes some really reputable brands, as well as and some other media companies on there. And I look at that, and one, I give you guys kudos. You got to respect being able to have such clients in your portfolio. And from my perspective, I imagine it takes a lot to build up such a portfolio, and I imagine that the expectations are much higher. And just wanted to really get your insight on what it takes to build up a portfolio of major clients, and being able to maintain that, and just speak on those things like the expectations and all the things that come along with that.
Yeah, thanks for that. I appreciate it. We worked hard, so it's nothing's easy. I'll tell you that right out the gate. And perseverance and good deliverables, like solid deliverables at the end of the game. There's no BSing anybody. That's what we always have done, is like, here's what we can deliver, we're good at, we like to do. So by liking what we do, we can do it better. It's easier. I don't know, that's not science, but it seems that way.
Right.
Easier and simpler to deliver what you say you're going to do, because it's like you do it anyway, and it's fun and easy and great. But there's challenges in there, and by the nature of our business, every show is different. Every performance, every display, every gig we do is a different one to some degree, and that's a blessing and a curse in ways. If you want repetition and routine, don't go into the show business. There's routine jobs. You wake up, you're in your commute, you do your 6 hours, 8 hours at the desk, and then you get up and you get in your car and go home, and you do that Monday through Friday, da 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 da. Or you do show business, which you're doing 15-hour days at minimum, sometimes longer, sometimes normal, but you're loading in and doing all the work and lifting it up, and first to come, last to leave, first to arrive, last to leave. In the event industry, the hours can be really long.
I have a question for you there. I know in my experience, working with my mentor and his promotion company, and working with like corporate clients, I guess, what would you say are some of the things that you have to deal? Because I know, like, sometimes working with corporate clients, they have their expectations, and you have what you can do for them, or it might require more from them, and especially like on the creative side, because I know everybody has like their designated team that you probably work with to help make whatever happen. And sometimes it's where you have to tell the people on the team, like, hey, well, we're going to need this if you guys want this, in terms of logistical things or budgetary things. You see where I'm getting at? So when working with these major clients, is that something that you oftentimes run into, or how does that typically work out with you guys?
All the time. It's really finding the balance, yin and yang, kind of like, really everything has its ups and downs, and it finds its level. But we used to have this funny adage. It's like there's 3 circles that overlap, and in each circle one says a word, and it says good, fast, and cheap. And you can pick 2, but you can't have all 3. So where they overlap, you can have it good and fast. It's just not going to be cheap, because you got to build it, and it's going to cost money to expedite the build and But conversely, you can get it cheaper, but it won't be fast. It'll take more time because they'll put it in the back of the queue or there's something. So but it's good, fast, and cheap. Find the balance of those two and really make the compromise or know when to not compromise. That's really what is key in our stuff is you got to hold your ground when you're right and it's true and it, but you got to really know it. And then in other times, make the concession and say, you know what, I'm not 100% about that. And I think let's go with them. They feel better about it. I don't know them. They're new. They're a client. We never worked with them, blah, blah, blah. But we got to trust their gut. They seem like they're backing it solid. So we'll back them, and that's teamwork. And you support your team. And that's it. It's not all cutthroat and corporate. Sometimes they are, but not all the time, like that. And that's what really makes it cool is that it's like diversification, I'm not a stock trader or anything, but I think that if you have stock in a whole bunch of different stuff that you're not all in oil and then all of a sudden the oil dries up and then you're like, crap, but you have it in other elements that diversify. Same deal with the business here. It all is art in some way. We love lighting and we try to tie it together with some kind of lighting design. And then there's logistical management and this and client management. You talked about the client early on about how it takes a lot of time. We work with a lot of shows and a lot of these events, they come in and we got to manage expectations and we're getting our expectations managed too by them. So it's kind of a two-way bi-directional conversation. It has to be. Otherwise, I don't like the other version of that. That is just being told what to do. And then you're just a soldier. We like little bilateral, let's do it. We all do it together. Stuff turns out better. Sounds kumbaya and rainbows and butterflies, but if it's along together, you have a better product. And that's what we want. We don't want the hardcore, do this now. There are schedules, but the feeling, the overall vibe has to be one of which is participatory. And it's easy though. Once you start getting those jobs and we all get along with each other, we all have our projects. We bring along the coworkers that we work with on the other projects that we like, and it's really neat that we can, it's not like cherry picking from all these other things, but it's because you had a great experience with them working on this project. They're really good at what they're doing. And I need one of those things on my next job. They're getting the call. It's a no-brainer. It's like, hey, right. Yeah, we just finished yesterday. Well, I got another thing tomorrow. And that's what makes it. It looks really great on paper, but it's the interpersonal stuff that makes it worth it. The relationships that we have, they start at work, but then they extend afterwards. Maybe the project's over, maybe they left that company or something, but you still call up, send Christmas cards to each other, or have a holiday party, or not now, but normally, we stay connected. Sooner or later, something else you'll run into them again, and maybe it's not a paid gig, maybe it's just we run into them on another show that we're at, and that's really cool. Connect everybody together. Client list logos, they're great, they're important. We wear them like pins. Oh yeah, we got. It's kind of like trial by fire for some of them, and you get those, and there you are. You're on the other side, and you can shine from there.
It's like I like to call them badge of honors or stripes. Another stripe to add to the patch.
That's right. You get higher rank, more stripes. You're
right. All right, we're back. Now, Brandon, I want to ask you a few questions so that the listeners and I can learn more about you, the things that you do, and all the great things that go along with that. So I'm going to go ahead and fire off with my first question. You are from the Hudson Valley and you worked on Broadway. Why does the state of New York at large have such a rich artistic tradition?
Wow, that's a great question. I probably would attribute to New York City is a massive hub of so many different cultures. and people from all different backgrounds of life all around the world. They have a worldwide culture in New York City. So that brings in itself, it just owns that diversity, and in diversity in art, in culture, are all one and the same. You want it, it's natural. It's what you want to show off in the big stuff. And I think the city has a lot to do with it, and big tourism too. A lot of people from all around, Europeans, come to New York all the time. It's like just to check out Times Square or whatever. But in that gives us opportunity to bounce back and forth between cultures and say, you know what, we're doing something here in New York. Why don't you guys go do something in London, and you guys do something in Prague, and you're able to kind of bilaterally experience. But my being born and raised in the Hudson Valley, New York, upstate New York, not so far upstate, way snowy, up middle of the ground, Hudson Valley. We were very fortunate that we're so close to this city. It's a short drive, and you catch a train down there or a bus. You can take all this stuff, an hour and change, a little over an hour and a half to get down there. And we can see shows. We can go see Broadway. We used to go see the Rockettes every year. It was like part of the tradition. Go down to Radio City and go see the Rockettes. We might have not gone all the time, but having that access pretty easy to get to without, expending a lot of money either. That was great. You even go down there and do some shopping, or just hang out during the summer and go see a show, stuff that we didn't have up by us, the city did. So I think it was really cool to have that opportunity and that geographical pin for me growing up. I thought it was really, really cool. And then naturally it just led me into, I liked it. I started training for lighting design, and went and did the training. And then when I was able to go see shows all the time, worked up in the city all the time, and that got me connected to people that then I had to the next person, they had that opportunity to call me up, and I was available. There you go.
So my next question to you, a lot of the guests that we bring on are from aspects of the business the average consumer doesn't think much about. Why are the aspects of a show like lighting essential elements so often forgotten or overlooked?
I've said it before that I think you'll know you won't overlook it when you see it, and chances are it's probably wrong. So, or something's broken, or something's not right. Because a lot of all departments, all aspects, all elements of these productions got to work like a perfectly tuned machine. To use a lawnmower as an analogy, if your pull starter breaks, the rope breaks, the machine doesn't go, right? So, or if a little cog in there, a little piston valve breaks, the machine stops working. Same thing with these productions. If the comms go down, whereas the communication between all departments goes down, the show's paused for a second, or everyone's in crisis control mode. Like, we can't get to the stage manager. We don't know this. The lighting guy can't talk to this guy. They don't know when to go on the cube. When's the performer go? There's so many things that we're in constant communication. If that one little cog fails, or then but so to say, the overlooked ones are the most common stuff, but they're really important, which is crazy. Is that there has to be functional lighting, excellent safety protocols in hand, that people, you don't want to know all the safety planning that went into place. You just want to go and see a show and be able to get out if there's some kind of issue. I won't even go into the issues, but if there's something that prevents the show from going on smoothly, you want to be able to exit there really quickly. And there's a lot of planning that goes into that. And that's that's not boring per se, but it's not something that the average Joe Sixpack or Janet Soup want to go see. They just want to go see the show. And I don't know, trash and the porta sands, all the stuff that definitely need a pot to take a leak in when you're at that concert. You're not going to go in the tree in the back. You got to have 1,000 people go in the bathrooms, not on that one tree. So,
Right.
But it's overlooked. It's really, everyone forgets about it. It's just, or how smoothly concessions works. There's a lot under the logistics and the planning, the trucks in and out, and the food deliveries, so you don't have the stuff. If they don't have the assets there on site to flip hamburgers and make hot dogs and do French fries or veggie burgers or whatever, maybe they have a kitchen, in the city here, not everything's all there, all one place. It's down the block, or it's maybe it's in the next borough. They have their storage house there, but the kitchen is in down the road, and then you do this, you pick this up, and you're bringing pre-prepared things there to serve, but they got to heat and serve. There's all stuff under the hood. Catering, I guess I could talk about that, which I have, but there's lighting, sound, that stuff is meant to support the art, support the artist that's on stage. Where the tech is nothing without, you don't go to a Bob Dylan show and just look at a guitar. No, you need Bob Dylan there. You have to going to the show to see the performer. Taylor Swift, if she's not on stage, who cares? There's 350 moving lights with a water curtain and the best line array sound system money can buy. No Taylor, no show, no tech, no lights, no sound, no nothing. So it's really important to for me to look at the technical stuff is important. I can't say that enough. It's really good gear makes good looking stuff, but it's not about the gear. It can't be about the gear. It's a freaking box that you plug in. That's done. It's about the people that do it and make that show happen. And like I said, the aforementioned superstar on stage, who's the draw. That's what the tickets are seeing. I don't really care about the lighting operator or the monitor engineer or the front of house guys. The normal Joe Sixpack going to the shows they want to see the show. Okay. So I don't want to belittle any other department because we're all equally as important together as a unit. It's less about, hey, it's me. Look at this. Look how cool these lights are. This is all about the lighting show. Unless it's a lighting show, unless it's a laser show, then it matters. There's shows that have they're doing these lighting shows around us that you drive through, a golf course, and they have all kinds of LED and whatever holiday knickknacks and candy canes and elves and trees and menorahs and all kinds of stuff. And you drive through it, and it's a light show. That's it. There's nothing else. You're just driving through, and there's lights. But it's not a concert. It's not a theatrical presentation. It's not a Broadway show. They all have different features. Wicked, for example, on Broadway was a huge projection show. There was a lot of video projection on it, and you couldn't help but say, "Oh man, this is a video show," and less of a lighting show. But lighting and video are both light. So it's the same there was an excellent collaboration with those two departments. It looked as if it was all one, and that's what it should be. That's what it doesn't want to feature oh yes, haha, projection show. I'm just using that one as an example. Other types of shows feature other departments but I think on a whole, it should be a unit that supports that superstar, using the concert as an analogy to what we do.
My next question to you, I guess, why are some people better suited to the uncertainty and shifting schedules of live performance work than others?
Great. Well, it's how you're built and what you like to do. There's some people that are really good at routine and good at a set shift, a schedule. This is what I'm going to do. This is my thing. I'm going to go into the office here and be there for X amount of time. And then I'm going to do that repetition. I'm going to do it. People need repetition. Some people don't need it as much. I don't know. That's, again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a psychologist or anything. I just think that certain repetitive tasks give comfort in many ways. I don't know. I'm not saying brushing your teeth is a comforting thing, but it certainly is a routine that gets you prepared for your next thing to do. And that can help in work, getting your mind there, is having that routine and doing it. Some in the showbiz, oh boy, there's long hours and you have to have a really hard work or a solid work ethic to get through those long hours. I mean, it's the prep and the planning and all this, the hours you're putting it in, and then boom, you do the event, you have a little decrescendo that goes down, the workload, you're wrapping up, you're still doing a couple days, but you don't have as many long days, and then you wrap it up, and then you're like, whew, and then there's a sigh of that was great, and then you could really enjoy the moment afterwards, the butterflies in your stomach are gone, the show business nerves are gone. You're like, okay, that was good. And then maybe there's a pause in there, a day or two or a week. I don't know. Sometimes freelance projects where sometime in careers, there's gaps. The gaps get bigger or smaller depending on but it's freelance. You got to be able to, plan for it and do the best work you can, do it when you can, plan for time off. I'm a firm believer in you're only as good in your uptime when you have downtime. You can't just drive percent all the time constantly. You're gonna fry. It'll be sustainable for a little while. I think people have different tolerances to that, and you can drive hard, but you can't do it for years and years and years. You just melt from the inside. There's stress kills people. I don't subscribe to that. I want to be able to work really hard and put in those long hours and not think twice about it, because then right afterwards I'm planning for 2, 3, 4 days off or more, and for that. And then I know when the next gig calls, I'm ready because I have my downtime. I'm fresh and clean, and let's go into the next one.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes that's hard. It gets hard, and the finances and being an adult and having a place over your head and eating and paying for what you eat in life, you gotta get some money, and then how do you do that if the jobs aren't calling? And then so there's some anxiety that builds up a little bit, but I know that I'm good at what I do and I like doing it. People keep on calling me, and if they weren't, then I'm calling everyone that I know and following up and trying to do it. But it was really just the long hours. I don't mind putting them in. I also want to put in long non-work hours to find that balance for me.
Really quick, I want to get to the final question. You found a niche for yourself by working as a moving light programmer. How were you able to identify that in yourself, and how can others identify their niche?
That's great. Yeah, moving light programmer. I found the niche. I went to school, theatrically trained lighting design. I came out of college, undergrad college, and I was slinging a wrench. I was an electrician. And I was working on all these shows, going in, hanging the lights, focusing the lights for a lot of theater, and doing a corporate or an industrial event every once in a while, get a bigger paycheck, but a little more stressful, or maybe work some fashion week down in the city to just a lot of slinging a wrench doing it. I was trained. I went to school for theater, lighting in theater. And I came out of it a really good electrician. And I was always at the time thinking about, I want to be a lighting designer. I don't want to necessarily hang all the lights all the time. I want to be able to decide where all these lights go and have someone else to hang them. That's where, thinking big picture. So as I was working, I moved down to New York, and I'm working on Broadway, off Broadway, regional theaters all around, and corporate events, slinging a wrench. Then I see that we're working a summer festival and a summer concert festival. It's early on, and we have 5 moving lights, and no one really knows how. Maybe we had 10, but it wasn't a lot, and no one really knew how to use them. The lighting, the electrician, the LD, the lighting designer. He's also the production manager, also the tech director. He's all in one, 3 guys in one. He's like, I don't know, Brendon, just get him to work. So I had to kind of trial by fire, get behind the console, try to figure out how to patch them and do it. But once you get past the tech, the lighting with light, painting with light is really cool. It's being able to move. I love being out there in the concerts. We have a couple thousand people listening to the big show, and you hit the bump button for the audience blinders, and everyone's like, on a big note or a big guitar solo or a big drum solo, you hit the strobe button, and everyone's like, it supports that art. And it's and it was the design. You're still designing lights because you're touching them and you're doing them in real time, but there was a bit of technology behind it that not everyone knew how to do. So I started doing that. And it's still fun. I still do it when I can. I still like doing it. I don't do it as much anymore, but I still like getting in there behind the desk and programming these lights and making them look good. Making whatever talent or show or setting that we're trying to use light to direct your eye, to set the mood, to really envelop the atmosphere, to make the atmosphere in many ways. So moving light programmer was my little niche there for a little while, because I knew the tech of it. I can hook it all up. I knew from my previous experience, I was hanging those lights. I knew how to address them. I knew how to hang them and plug them in and do all the stuff that you need to do. And I knew how to get them to talk to the desk. But then in my graduate training, I also knew the design of it. So I knew how light affects people psychologically. It creates atmosphere, it creates mood, it models, it shapes, it directs your eye. I knew all these foundations from lighting, but I wasn't the designer. I was just the guy behind the desk pointing the lights, because the designer's next to me that knows what to do. They say, okay, this is my plan. I lay out all these lights the way I want them, and I want you to put all those backlights in blue, and put the front lights in a lighter blue, and put your side lights in a light pink. I don't know. I'm making these colors up, but it could put the colors, point them on there. Okay, record Q1. And I'm kind of like a robot, and I record that cue, which is a snapshot of that look. And then maybe I change a couple lights. Maybe I move it down because it's no longer on the lead singer downstage center, but it's on the guitarist on stage left. So the moving lights are going to move over to that guitarist and record Q2. And then what I can do is clear and do that over and over and over and over again. And I'm oversimplifying here. There's more nuance in there, especially if you're doing a theater show. There's a lot more slower transitions that we don't want immediately displayed. Maybe you want to affect your mood. Sometimes it's not so quick. It's going to be slow. It's a night scene. It's blue. It's foggy. It's eerie. And, maybe you have a glow happen in the corner. Everyone that makes their eyes go there. Running moving lights, that was where I was able to find a balance of the design of it and the tech of it, the hang and the very technical. My brain is very, very technical, very around the trades. I know how to hang stuff, build stuff, that's a kind of like doing it, and I'm good at it, so I like doing that. But I also like the upper level thinking of the design and how it affects perception of the piece. You don't want to just slam in the cues so fast, everything on a one count. So it's like blast, 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 blast. You don't want to do that. You want to ease into it. You want to get everyone in get them in the mood, ease them into the show. But every show's different. That's my disclaimer. It's not a cookie cutter template that applies to everything, but
right.
There's foundational elements in the design, and I found that being a light program, a moving light program, I could bridge those two worlds, the design, the implementation of it. And that was good. It's fine. And I don't know, as far as advice goes, to find the niche is like, if I knew it early on that I liked what I like. I like the behind the scenes lighting. I got bit by the bug in high school, and there was a show that we did. Our performances were on the same stage, like we in band and choir. They rehearsed on stage like the regular stage, and they had a stage crew that set out the chairs and the music stands and turn on the lights. There's no sound system in rehearsals. You just go out there and play. I was on that stage crew, and then they were rehearsing something. I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if there was two groups on the stage. It was the girls and the guys. They're opposite stage, and it was like la 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 la, like something like that. And I said, oh, it'd be pretty neat if they were just like on a spotlight, boom, 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 on this kind of back and forth. And the band director, stage crew director, is like, yeah, go ahead, just figure it out, man. Play around, hang a light if you want. I don't, he didn't really care, but he gave me artistic license, and there you go. Hang a couple lights, very simple, very like literally a Fresnel above each. And a Fresnel is a soft style light, and just kind of bathe them with a top light. And it's high school, so every light's on anyway. But I was able to pull some lights down, get it all like I was talking about, try to program some cues, and then my appendix burst, and I wasn't able to do the performance. I missed it. But that was my bug. I was like, oh man, that was so cool. I could have did it and go to school for it, do some more shows, and then so on and so forth. So I knew early that I liked it. I had no idea that it could be a career. All through that time in high school, I'm applying for engineering schools stuff. I didn't really want to be an engineer, but that's what I was, applying for. And then I found out, well, a lighting engineer, there's a thing for that. What is that? And it's not really an engineer. So all of my engineering friends don't, it's lighting engineering is not a thing. It's not engineering, but it is engineering to the fact that it's mechanical and operational, getting systems together to work as one system. And that I think is satisfies that portion of my brain. You got the art side and the tech side, and got to find balance between the two. So I think if you can find what you like to do is where you should start, and, and hope
I
that,
agree.
Because then that'll make work won't feel like work.
That's true. Thank you for sharing all of that. This has definitely been an insightful recording, and I know the listeners will have a lot to take away from it as well. So I really appreciate you sharing all of that you shared with us. And thank you for, taking time out of your schedule to come on the SANE Show today.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah,
Thanks, Brad.
cool deal. Yeah. Always. Definitely have to have you back on the show at some point in the future. So, yeah, thank you again. And thank you, listeners, for continuing to listen to the SANE Show and continuing to like, share, and subscribe. And again, be sure to follow us on social media and be sure to continue to spread the word about the SANE Show. You're listening to the SANE Show, the show about nothing and everything. And until next time, we're out.